Arise, queens. This is the All Queens Army, where women are provided with the tools you need to overcome your fears, face your flaws, and experience breakthroughs as you develop self-esteem so strong you emanate royalty. Now, for your host and commander of the All Queens Army, Breizy Time.
Welcome to the All Queens Army podcast. This is your girl, your host, Breizy Time. I am here today with another dope episode for the queens. Super excited to talk to you, queens. You guys know I love you to pieces, and I'm always going to make some dope content to talk about some real issues. And this time, today, we're going to be holding some queens accountable and talking about some things that we do. Well, I'm going to rephrase. I don't think the queens do this now. I think some of the women out there do some of these things, and we're going to talk about it. We putting people on blast and we holding each other accountable, honey. So today we have, for the second time, a king in the queendom, y'all. Wait a minute. We have opened the door and we have allowed another king to grace our presence. So welcome to my guest today, Kris. I'm so excited for you to be here.
Thank you.
That is very exciting. So, as usual, y'all know we be making the kings feel a little nervous now because this young man's looking a little nervous sitting across from me. But I'm excited that you decided to come on the show to talk about our topic for today, which I'm going to let you queens out of suspense. And we're going to be talking about how some women play a lot of games with the kings, specifically in regards to children involved in paternity. It's a little bit of a rough topic. I'm sure that some of you queens out there either know or have heard of or know men who have gone through situations where a woman has been playing games with them, or I'm just doing things that are hurtful in regards to the child that they're trying to co-parent together, preventing the man from seeing his child, playing around with paternity and making threats, just things like that. Listen, queens, we know that we're not perfect either, and we know that we do have some rotten apples in our bunch, and that's what we're going to address today. So again, thank you, Kris, for being open enough to come and talk about that. I know it's not an easy thing to talk about. And is this the first time that you've even decided to have a conversation about your experience? Is that what I should call it? Is it an experience? What is it?
It's not the first time I've had a conversation about it. I normally talk to my closer friends about it, but obviously it's the first time I'm on the podcast talking about it publicly. I'm not really afraid to talk about it because it's real. It's what happened. I learned from it. I try to make better decisions today based on my experiences. I think that men, you gotta, own your truth, know what you're dealing with. You kind of know the type of women we dealing with before we even go sleeping with them or whatever the case may be. So when you dealing with a woman and you get that red flag, you gotta acknowledge the red flag, and then take your steps back or proceed with caution. And I know I didn't do that this time, and I know I'll definitely be doing that in times going forward, just making better decisions on who we sleeping with, who we dealing with.
Right. So tell us, do you mind? Let me just start with that. Do you mind telling us about, what is your situation or what happened with your situation?
Sure, I absolutely do not mind. So I started dealing with a young woman. I was 20 at the time. She was 26. No, I'm sorry. She was 24. I knew she was married. She told me that she was getting a divorce. And
so she was married, but they weren't together. Or at least that's what she told you?
Yeah.
Okay.
She told me that they weren't together. She told me they were separated. When we would spend time together, he wasn't around. Even though every now and then he would call, she would just leave the room or whatever the case may be. And like I said, I seen some red flags enough to say, look, this ain't right. But I kind of just tried to go on trust and allow it to be what it was.
Right.
I could understand if one person wants to get a divorce and another person does not, then maybe somebody's trying to fight for it, and you're telling me that it ain't no fight, it's me and you. So I began to just pick up more and more signs that it was a little bit more than what she said it was. And she began to explain some things that kind of cleared things that I would question. And I just feel like if I looked a little bit deeper, I could have really seen exactly what was going on. So what ends up happening is I get the woman, or I believe I got the woman pregnant. That's what she told me. And I have a daughter. So
congrats.
Definitely happy about my daughter. I do believe she looks like me, but I haven't had a DNA test yet. So I'm paying for stuff for my daughter, diapers, formula, daycare every week, just doing everything I feel like is supposed to be done as a father. And her mom is giving me the runaround. She won't put my name on the birth certificate. She's she's like trying to dictate when I can see her. She only really call me or text me or talk to me when she needs some money for something. And it's like every time I call her or want to see my daughter, she's nowhere to be found. She won't answer her phone. So I made it a little bit more challenging for her to do that by not responding to her when she texts me or calls me. Like I make it so it's on my terms, it's on my time, and I'm not calling her for nothing else. We had broken up, so I'm only calling her to see my daughter, and she's only responding because she thinks that's an opportunity for her to ask me for whatever she want to ask me for. So I believe it was, at this point it's about May, June time, I had decided that I was gonna make her give me a paternity test so that I knew for me that my daughter was my daughter. And she made it seem like that was a good idea, that was okay, that was fine. But then behind the scenes she would guilt trip me and be like, well, if you know that she yours, why you need this, why you need that, why you asking me, like you accusing me of cheating on you, you accusing me of this, you accusing me of that. And I would like fall for it. So in July, she had lied to me. She told me that she was moving to Pennsylvania. And at that point, I was done. Because it's like, how do you move to Pennsylvania and not even tell me?
Right.
How am I supposed to see my daughter? I can't drive all the way to PA every week or every day or whatever the case may be to go see her. And I asked her, like, seriously, you know, what is your plan for me to be able to spend time with her? And she was like, I'm making a decision that's best for me and my kids. We'll take care of that when we get there, whatever the case may be. And I'm like, how do you even make that decision without consulting me? So, Can
I chime in real quick?
Yeah.
I never understand how some women feel like they're making a decision that's right for their children when that decision is to take them away from a parent who is trying to be a part of their lives. Now, there's some situations where we all know that there's some dads or some moms who aren't present and they're not making an effort and they're not trying to be a part of the kid's life. And I get that. I get in those situations where women say, I'm doing what I need to do because maybe the dad isn't present, or if a man says that because the mother isn't present. But when the other parent is present, right? When the other parent is present, when the other parent is making an effort and trying to be a part of that child's life, I just think it is very selfish for a woman to make a decision that they say is best for the child without considering how that impacts the relationship that the child has with their father.
Right.
You know, that's just, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Honestly, that just goes along with exactly what I was saying as far as just the different things, the different red flags I had that I should have just paid more attention to. At the time when I started paying daycare, I was able to go to the daycare and pick up my daughter and things of that nature. But I remember one instance, the daycare provider asked me, did I have any children? And I kind of knew, you know, why she asked, but then I was kind of like, she doesn't really know that the child I'm bringing to the daycare service. A young woman has 2 children, or 3 children at this point, but I would bring her youngest son and my daughter to the daycare, and the daycare provider wasn't sure that my daughter was my daughter, right. Correct. So I kind of understood that's why she was asking, but I didn't really understand that she didn't know that she was my daughter, which kind of made sense because my daughter doesn't have my last name. So I just kind of looked down at her, looked back up at her, and I thought maybe she understood based on my response.
Right.
There was different times when I would try to pay daycare and she would make it hard for me. She would tell me, don't go up there and try to do that. Just cash at me the money. And me being dumb, I would just cash at it to her.
No, don't call yourself dumb, though.
Okay.
Don't call yourself dumb, because one thing I'm going to share with you is we all have made decisions. And I told you this during the times that you were actually going through it, like in the moment. We all make decisions that we look back and say, in hindsight, that wasn't smart, or I should have known. And I think what you do when you do that is you beat yourself up too much and you don't allow yourself any margin for error.
Right.
You have to give yourself margin for error because life is school and we're here to learn. And so if this is the first time that you've come across a woman like that, you know, you don't know what you don't know until you go through it, and now you know. So right. Yeah, so don't say, you know, you was being dumb. You just say you were doing the best you could do based on what you had experienced in life thus far.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And what was more important to me was that the daycare money got there on time and that I was a provider like I was supposed to be. Wasn't the best decision. I should have made the decision that I made now sooner. And so I'm not in contact with her.
So you two don't speak at all?
No, I haven't seen my daughter since July 5th, 2018. Today is December 6th.
You're talking about 7 months?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's been 7 months since I seen my daughter. And I don't talk at all. I think she called me a couple days ago because I filed some paperwork to have a paternity test and it was taken to her job. So I'm assuming that's why she called.
They served her on her job?
I believe so. I'm really waiting to hear back about that, but that's the only reason I can imagine she called. So I'm just kind of waiting for the follow up on that. But at this point, I'm just ready to figure out if my daughter is my daughter, and if she's not, I'm going to be okay with that. And if she is, I'm going to try to be the best father I can be.
I think that is, the only way you can really deal with it. Now, rewinding a little bit, you say that she had at some point told you she was moving to Pennsylvania. You said she lied about that.
Right.
So, how did you figure out that she lied? And then also, I know you're not her, so you can't really answer this part of the question with any real validity, so to speak. But why do you think she lied about moving?
So I told you she was lying to me about the whole separation.
With the husband?
Correct. Yeah. So she never really officially got a divorce, I believe, until January of this year. So that's when she filed. But by then, she was pregnant. We had already been through our getting back together, breaking up. Mm-hmm. In December, it was about December last year, I had really decided that it wasn't going to be, even though I made efforts and attempts, I decided it really wasn't going to work.
Right.
Regardless of the fact that I wanted to be with her, kind of feeling bad and just wanting to be able to have a family for my daughter. Because, I was kind of raised, my parents separated when I was young and then they divorced when I was 6. I never wanted that for my daughter.
Right.
And I realized that I put myself in a situation to not even be able to offer her that, which made me feel bad too. I found out that she didn't move to Pennsylvania because I still have contact with her mom and her sisters and people in her family. Mm-hmm. So they, of course, obviously know what's going on. And they had reached out to me and pretty much let me know that she ain't going nowhere. So,
her family told you that she didn't
They let
move.
me know.
Okay.
She's still in Baltimore. I don't know her exact address, but I know she's in Baltimore. And then other people that I know have run into her or have seen her, but didn't stop her, didn't say nothing to her because that's not our goal. We're not trying to,
Mm-hmm.
But I do know she's still in Baltimore.
Why do you think that she told you she was moved?
She's playing a game. She was allowing me to help provide for my daughter or for her daughter. She wasn't honest or upfront, so she's kind of put me in a loop. And at this point, like I said, I really just want a DNA test to figure out if my daughter is mine. If she is, like I said, I would love her and try to be the best dad. But if she's not, it's just you're just using me.
Right.
You literally will only call me or text me or even send a picture if I'm sending you money or if I'm helping you.
If she needs something, then,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's been times I go out with my family on our birthday dinners and she will call me in the middle of a birthday dinner because she know I'm with my family and she don't like my family, just to interrupt, to argue, to have a conversation, to get me upset. And so it's real malicious. I really don't know, what's going on or why. You can see it's making me upset, but
yeah. Let me just say this, queens, we have a lot of conversations about men not doing what they need to do. We have a lot of conversations about men needing to step up to the plate. We have a lot of conversations about men's shortcomings. But we have to be honest that there are lots of women who have some very deep-seated issues and do a lot of hurtful things to some of our kings as well. And the reason that I wanted to have this episode is here lately we've been having a lot of conversations about men and men's expectations and women having to fill a lot of the voids that men leave in our lives. But I want to also be fair to our kings because not all of our kings are those types of men. We have some really, really good, strong kings in the kingdom. And some of them are being so disrespected by some of these. I was getting ready to call some queens a name, baby. I forgot this was the All Queens Army, baby. I forgot this was a platform for uplifting, honey. Sometimes it takes me back to breathe. And next thing you know, I be calling chicks names, honey. I'm not going to call some of these unfortunate behaving women a name. I'm going to continue to call them queens. But some of these queens are very broken, so much so that they break other people around them. You ever heard that saying, hurt people hurt people? Mm-hmm. And it's no excuse, right? Because just because you're hurting or just because you've had an unfortunate upbringing, just because you have some issues within yourself, it doesn't give you the authority to go around hurting other people. And so it's unfortunate, and that's why I invited you to the show, because I think it's important to talk about the shortcomings of not just men all the time, but sometimes we got to talk about the shortcomings of some of our women and some of the things that women are doing, because it's not okay, and we have to bring some awareness to it. And one of the first things I thought about when I wanted to have this discussion was a hat that you had purchased probably sometime around your birthday, I believe. Yeah. And it was saying, what was it? Fathers Matter?
Make fatherhood great again.
Yeah. So that really spoke volumes to me. The hat was Make Fatherhood Great Again. Because while there are some men who don't step up to the plate and be the dads and be the fathers they're supposed to be, there are just as many men who are stepping up and who are trying to do the right thing and be responsible for their children. And then you have women who get in the way of that. You have women who are the mothers of the children, who I think you suck as a mother if you're that type of a a woman. You know, you just suck as a person, because who are you to make the determination that a child grows up without their dad? So as much as we may disagree with the person we have to co-parent with, like their parenting style or their personality or whatever, at the end of the day, that's the person that you chose to have a child with, and that is that child's other parent, and that child deserves both of their parents, period. Nobody gets to make that decision to say, no, you only need me, or no, you don't need your dad, or your dad doesn't matter, or I'm more important as your mother. Like, that's bullshit. It's bullshit, and I really wish women would stop doing that. And there may be some men who do it, right? Some men who have custody of their children, whoever, it doesn't matter. It's wrong, and it's not okay. And I really wanted to bring some enlightenment to this issue, because me knowing you personally and watching you go through that, my heart breaks for you, which is why throughout the process, of course, I would try to warn you, hey, I'm seeing this red flag, be careful, because as someone in your life who cares about you, you know what I mean? It's hard and hurtful to watch somebody play with you like that. Not just play with you, play with your life, play with your finances, play with your heart. Good, genuine person, the good, genuine giver that you are. Some people just see that and they just aim to take advantage of it. And so, right. And the sad part about that is it hardens the nice person's heart. Like, going forward, it makes you more defensive. It makes you more guarded. It makes you kind of think twice about opening up to people because you did it and then somebody jacked you over or whatever. So if I can give you any advice is, you know, continue to trust love and continue to trust that the universe will give you red flags. And the only thing you do differently is this time you take heed to the flags. You know what I mean? You take them serious. You don't ignore them. You really keep your eyes open. You be more aware, more cognizant, learn how to discern better, have more discernment and things like that, so that you're not taken advantage of, because I just think it's sad and it's unfortunate. So right now we're at a place where you haven't seen your daughter since July and you're asking for a paternity test. Now, has she ever made you think or told you that the baby is not your baby?
Yeah, we've been back and forth about that several times. I remember when she told me that she was pregnant, she kind of sent a text saying, what did you do on this day, XYZ? And it was like, what? Like, that's a funny way to tell somebody that you're pregnant. But then we would go and get into arguments or disagreements, or we would fight and just agreed to not speak to each other anymore. She would say that she wished that she wasn't mine and that X, Y, and Z would be a better father and this, that, and the third. And I would just be like, okay. Like, she would just do things to specifically say them to me to hurt my feelings. And I have like text messages back and forth of her, you know, asking me for stuff, saying that I'm a bad father if I don't do it or whatever the case may be, because she knows we done been through the back and forth thing already. So it's like she's using anything, everything she can for me as leverage to get me to do whatever she need me to do. So she's lied and said that she was and said that she wasn't. So we're gonna find out. You
mean she was your daughter and saying she was? So she said both. Like, she said yes, both. She's your daughter, and she said, hey, no, she's not your daughter. Yeah. See that? Like, really?
She sent a picture of my daughter's birth certificate with her husband's name on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But then a couple days prior to that, she told me she was going to take me to court for child support.
Right.
So I'm like, how you going to take me to court for child support
if it's not your daughter?
Yeah.
So right now, she's been served, right? And
I believe so.
You think she's been served at her job. And so you're just waiting for the courts to give you guys a date to go and do a paternity test. Yeah. I mean, of course, for your sake, I would love for, and I think all of the queens would love for, biologically, for you to be her dad. You know what I mean? Yeah. Especially because it seems like with you getting a little choked up that you already have a relationship or a bond, you know, like you feel something for this little girl. How old is she now?
She's 1 and 5 months.
So she's almost 1.5. Aw. What would be the ideal situation for you? Like, if you could paint this picture as pretty as it could be now, right? Considering everything that's happened. If you could paint this picture, how would it look for you? Would you have custody of her? Would you, like, what would you want?
That is what I would want. I would want full custody of my daughter. I just feel like I've lost so much time, and just the person that she is. I'm just so afraid of what she teaches the people that she has around. She don't allow her to see her grandparents of her biological mother and her family. It's just a really bad situation. So yeah, I would want full custody, full physical, and what's the other one?
Physical?
Yeah, full legal and physical custody. custody of my daughter. I would want both. And that's not to keep her away from her. I would still absolutely let her see her and spend time with her. But I would just allow her to live with me and to be raised by me. Raised, what I would say, is the way that a child should be raised. Understanding that not everybody's a bad person. And I still love, and I wouldn't say that my heart is hard or anything like that. I'm just very aware, very cautious of certain people. When I get a negative vibe from somebody, I take caution to it.
Yeah.
I'm not just like throwing it to the back burners and saying like, you know, they did something or they made a mistake, whatever the case may be. Like, no, because it is a red flag. This is who these people really are.
Exactly.
And so you had to be aware of that. And I wouldn't allow my daughter to be around people that, you know, are trying to do her harm. And I don't think would either, but I'm just saying, like, I don't think that her as a person is right to raise. Well,
yeah, it sounds like emotionally, her whole emotional makeup or her mindset is toxic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I really don't understand it. You know, I try to be a lot like my dad in that, try to be kind, just be positive, be nice. My dad is somebody who, and y'all would probably laugh at this, but if he's seen somebody on the side of the road, whether they have a flat tire or whatever the case may be, he would be that one person that pulls over on the highway and will ask you if you need any help, and he will help you out. And that's how I try to live my life and how I try to be every day. I'm not saying I go...
You're not Mother Teresa, right?
Yeah, I'm not going to the hood or to
You're not the
to
Dalai
Baltimore
Lama, right?
and giving money to all the homeless
Right.
people, but you know, I try to be a genuine person and help people that I know need help. But at the same time, I'm not allowing anybody to use me neither.
Yeah.
And this was a situation where she seen an opportunity to use somebody and she used me.
Yep.
So
I think that's exactly what happened in your situation. And Queens, just know, I do know this situation personally, so I'm not speaking just from the limited information that Kris is sharing in the moment. I know a little bit more about this situation that he's experienced, and it's my opinion, and has been my opinion kind of from like day 2, that this young lady is very toxic, and she's probably just a damaged woman. And there's so many of us out there like that. And while I feel tons of compassion for a person who is filled with that much negativity, that much toxicity, I feel a lot of compassion, because it must really suck to live your life every day just hurting people and playing games with people and running game on people and including your children in it like pawns. I think you have to be a very miserable person to do something like that. And I just think that, you know, Kris, from day 1, she probably saw that you were one of the good guys, because Queens, is some good guys out there. I mean, I married one, and it took a long goddamn time, too long, before I was able to find one to marry. And baby, part of it was just my issues preventing me from getting there too. But Queens, it's some really good kings out there available. It's some good kings, and a lot of times they run into some toxic women, or they run into some women who take advantage of them because they see that this is a good man and he's willing to do whatever for me, for my family, for my kids. Because I can even say that about my husband. He does a lot for my son. And so I would say, Queens, please take it easy on the nice guys. Please, y'all. Please appreciate the good guys. Please see the goodness in them. I know they ain't perfect, honey, but it's some good men out here. And just so y'all know, I mean, Kris is single now, child. I'm gonna tag his page now. This is a nice young man, a nice, attractive, stand-up young man, right? For some of y'all queens out here complaining, talking about it ain't no good ones left, honey. There's some good ones out here. Y'all just overlooking them and taking advantage of them and playing games because y'all think you can run game on these good men. And I'm telling you, you don't want to do that. It is bad karma. It will bring back tons and tons of bad karma back into your life. So just be cognizant and mindful of how you're treating God's children, honestly. Just be careful.
That's right.
How you treat the good ones, because you might be getting over on their ass now, baby. But let me tell you something. One thing about them tables, they always turn. So you have to be careful how you treat people. So like, what advice would you give? Because I know a couple men personally who have experienced not necessarily everything that you've gone through, but similar, where, you know, the woman is not allowing the man to see his child, or using the child as a pawn and trying to control when he see the child, when he don't see the child, don't want the child around nobody else, so on and so forth. What advice could you give now that you've gone through this?
The first thing I'm gonna say, Kings, is that you want to own your truth. If you really, if there's any legitimacy to what a woman is saying about you as far as you parenting, providing, whatever the case may be. Own your truth. If you can't do everything that you need to be able to do, state that, voice it. And then if you're doing everything you're supposed to be doing and you still can't see your child, I would go through the courts. You don't have to go back and forth. You don't got to argue. Go through the courts. Get whatever custody you can get. But just try to do it the right way. Don't wait for her to dictate it to you, because when they dictate it to you, they're going to run game on you. And it's just not going to be good for you or for your child.
Yeah, that's good advice. Because the most important thing is the child. Like, we're adults. And while what we're going through might hurt and it might be hurtful and harmful, but think about the innocent child and what they're experiencing. Like, think about when you don't know why you were seeing dad all the time and now you don't see dad no more. I think that's really traumatic. And then think about, well, what is the woman telling the child when the child was asking the question, hey, where's dad? Or I want to see dad, or I want to call dad. Things like that, right? Because we know our kids ask for what they want because they don't know no different. They just know, look, I want the popsicle. And they're going to keep harassing you about it until you give them the popsicle. They're very relentless. So think about and imagine what the child is being told as the excuse or the reason why dad isn't around, or why I'm not seeing dad, or why I'm not talking to dad. And that those are the type of things that really, really break my heart.
And don't allow it to be whatever she says it is, unless what she's saying is true. And like I said, you know if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you know if you're not. And you know if you're dealing with a good woman who is doing the right thing or just asking you to do the right thing. But once you take care of that part, the rest of it take care of itself. Honestly, just be real, own your truth, and do what you're supposed to do.
Good advice. I also think it's awesome that you mentioned your dad and him kind of being an example of the type of man that you want to be. I think that is so heartfelt and so honest and so real, because again, not everyone has that role model, so to speak. And so that's the other reason I say it's very important for women to just let your child have a relationship with their dad, because mothers are not more important than fathers in the child's life. They are just as important. You need your mom for certain things. You need your dad for certain things. Men and women, girls and boys. And so just like we have this nice young man talking about the example that his dad set for him as a man, his daughter also needs him in her life to set the right example for her of what to expect and tolerate from a man. So if that father is void in her life, you create a void of her knowing how to have the right standards. You create the void of her knowing how to deal with men and how to accept love from men and just not be a thought pocket, you know what I'm saying, and looking for attention from any man because she didn't have one in her life, you know. And those are the bigger issues that some of these mothers are creating by preventing their children from having a relationship with their dad. It's just unacceptable all the way around. Any way you look at it, it's unacceptable if that man is trying to be there for his child. So I do appreciate you having this conversation. It's obvious that it's still very, very hurtful and painful to you, just because sitting here, the queens can hear it in your voice that you're still full of pain from this. And I hope that this brings some enlightenment to this issue. I love the fact that you are telling the kings out here, just take it to court, deal with it the right way.
I mean, a lot of men are afraid that either get an increase in child support or whatever the case may be, but that's not necessarily true. You just got to go about it the right way.
Right.
So,
and I mean, at the end of the day, money ain't everything. So look, if you got to pay the child support, you pay the damn child support. But at the end of the day, having a relationship with your child, being there for your daughter, watching your son grow up, absolutely, that trumps anything. Like I would exchange every dollar I had on earth if I knew that I would always have a relationship with my son and my son would be good. Like I don't care about money when it comes to my child. So that's another good point, is who cares about how much in child support? Like you're trading off making sure you're financially stable, making sure your money isn't taken, but you don't have the stability, or you don't even have any way to make sure that you have a relationship with your child because you're trying to protect your paycheck. And I just don't think the two compare at all.
They don't.
So again, big ups to you. And from the Queen's Army to a king, right? From the Queen's Army to a king, we want to say keep your head up. We want to say that you are one of the good ones and you aren't lost on good women, because there are some really good women, really loving queens out in the queendom, honey. I know some of y'all is listening now. I know y'all tuned in, but it really is some really, really good queens who would appreciate a man such as yourself, with the values and the morals that you have, with the upbringing that you have, with the goals that you have, and the fact that you did not allow this thought pocket. I mean, I'm sorry. God damn it. Did I say that? Sorry, y'all. I get messed up sometimes. I meant to say queen. Injured queen. You didn't allow an injured queen to diminish who you are. And you didn't allow her attempts to push you out of your child's life to make you give up. You know what I mean? And that says a lot about your character. So again, I'm sending you tons and tons of love and tons of hugs for your strength. Keep being strong. Don't you let these God damn it, I said it again. I'm sorry, y'all. Don't you let these injured queens make you a different person. Always stay true to yourself and keep that good, loving heart and that good, loving spirit. And any queens out there, if y'all can send Kris some positive energy, some high vibrations, some love, and some congratulations and some pats on the shoulder to show this young king that we absolutely understand his struggle and we support him 1000%, and that not all queens are the same.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Well, we are going to wrap up today's episode, honey, because listen, I am hungry. Okay. I need food. So I love you, queens, so much. Thank you guys for hanging in. Thank you, first of all, for allowing another king in the queendom. I know we said we wasn't going to be letting kings just wander around, wandering around the queendom, honey. But I told you guys, every now and again, we will invite a king so that we can hear a man's perspective, because this world was not created with just queens only. We do have some kings running around here. So we have to get their perspective every now and again. So thank you, queens, for allowing this king to come into the queendom and to talk about what's going on in his life and to educate some of the other kings who could potentially be going through this. So we appreciate that. I love you, queens. I will talk to you, queens, very soon. Have a good one. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the All Queens Army podcast. If you want to connect with Breizy Time and the All Queens Army, be sure to follow them on IG and Facebook at All Queens Army. Or head over and check out the All Queens Army YouTube channel. Until next time.